reminding me I was brave, that I could do this. Brandon's lawyer tried to make me look like a confused kid, asking if maybe I'd misunderstood Brandon's intentions. I stayed calm and repeated what happened, exactly as it happened. The prosecutor showed the recording from Ashley's phone, and Brandon's face went gray. His lawyer asked for a plea deal that afternoon, 25 to life instead of life without parole. The prosecutor said no way. After the hearing, reporters tried to talk to us outside the courthouse. Dad shielded me with his body as we pushed through them to Uncle Henry's truck. They shouted questions about forgiveness, about moving forward, about how it felt to see Brandon in chains. We didn't answer. There was nothing to say that would make them understand. This wasn't entertainment. It was our life. Mom started sending me letters, long rambling apologies about how she failed as a mother, how she should have seen the signs. I read the first few, then started throwing them away unopened. Dad said I should consider forgiving her eventually, for my own peace, not hers, but I wasn't ready. Maybe I'd never be ready. She'd chosen a monster over her own family. Some things are unforgivable. Brandon's actual trial was brutal. They brought in his other victims' families, showing pattern after pattern of his behavior. One woman from Arizona testified about how he dated her after her husband died in a suspicious accident. She'd gotten bad vibes and dumped him, probably saved her own life. Another family from Nevada talked about their son who was serving time for a murder that sounded exactly like Dad's case. The prosecutor said they were reopening that case too. Dad testified on day 3. He wore his only suit, the one from their wedding that he'd kept for some reason. He talked about finding the body, about trying to help, about the confusion when they arrested him. He talked about prison, about missing my birthday, about writing letters I'd never get to read. His voice broke when he talked about the day I was born, how he'd promised to always protect me and felt like he'd failed. Brandon took the stand on day 5, against his lawyer's advice. He tried to paint himself as a victim of circumstance, said the man in the bathroom had attacked him first. But under cross-examination, his story fell apart. He contradicted himself, got angry, showed his true face to the jury. When the prosecutor asked about his plans for me and Mom, he refused to answer. His own lawyer looked defeated. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Murder, conspiracy, fraud, attempted assault on a minor. The list went on. The judge sentenced him to life without parole, consecutive sentences for each crime. Brandon didn't react, just stared at the table. As they let him out, he looked at me one last time. I stared back, wanting him to see that he hadn't broken me, that I'd won. Dad and I went to his favorite restaurant after, the little Mexican place that still had his picture on the wall from when he was a regular. The owner hugged him and said the meal was on the house. We ate in comfortable silence, both exhausted but relieved. It was over. Really over. Brandon would die in prison and we could start rebuilding. Mom tried to come to the house the next week. Dad wouldn't let her in, talked to her through the screen door. She wanted to apologize again, wanted to try family counseling. Dad said no, that ship had sailed. She needed to move on, and so did we. She cried and begged, but Dad stood firm. I watched from the